Multiplying radicals is actually very simple. And if you read the formula right here, or the rule, it might sound complicated, but it's actually not. So let's read it. It says, if the nth root of a and the nth root of b are real numbers, then the nth root of a times the nth root of b is the nth root of a times b. So you pretty much just put them together. I'll show you an example. So let's say that we did square root of 3 times the square root of 5. That would just be the square root of 15. It is that simple. Now, there are times when you multiply, they become something different, like the square root of 5 times the square root of 8. Okay, that would be the square root of 40. Well, that would break down. That could actually be simplified. So if I simplify the square root of 40, I'm going to give myself some space. That would be 10 times 4, which would be 2 times 5, and then 2 times 2. So it's really, what we were doing before, only we've just added another step. And, my 2's will come out, but my 10 will stay in, because 2 times 5 is 10. So, the square root of 5 times the square root of 8 actually equals 2 square roots of 10, after it's been simplified. Say that it was a little bit more complicated. Let's say it was 2 square roots of 3 times the square root of 5. Okay? Technically speaking, when there's no number out front here, it's automatically a 1. Okay, so what I'm really doing is, it's like I'm regrouping. I'm putting my number. Let me label these things. So this 2 is a number, and 3 is a radical. Okay, 1 is a number, and square root of 5 is a radical. So I'm just going to group them by type. So I really have 2 times 1 as my numbers, and then the square root of 3 times the square root of 5 as my radicals. Well, 2 times 1 is 2, and the square root of 3 times the square root of 5, which we just did, is the square root of 15. And so that would be my answer. So to recap, you have to multiply your front numbers together, and you have to multiply your radicals together. And that's really it. And then simplify if you can. Now, square roots of 15 isn't going to simplify, because 15 doesn't have any other factors besides 3 and 5, and neither of those are a perfect square. Okay, so let's just do a handful of these together. We actually already did the first one. That was the square root of 15, which is right here. Okay, so that one's done. The next one, it's pretty simple. I'll let you do that. Let's try a little bit harder one. Let's try m. Whoops, m. And we'll do w together. And it doesn't matter. We'll just do a together too. Okay, so we'll do these 3. And the other ones you probably can do by yourself. You could probably do these by yourself, but... Alright, square root of 90 times the square root of 40. I don't know what 90 times 40 is, but we'll figure it out. Well, when you're multiplying powers of 10, well, not really powers of 10, but numbers that have 10 in them, like this 0 and this 0 are going to become part of my answer. So I'm going to have 2 zeros. Then I just take the 9 times the 4, and I get 36. So my answer will be 3600. So I'm really finding the square root of 3600. And I think I'm going to take 100 times 36. That seems easiest to me. 36 is actually a perfect square, so 6 times 6. And ironically, so is 100, 10 times 10. So I don't really need to go any further. I could stop here, and I'll do it both ways. I'll stop here. I'll do 6 times 6 times 10 times 10. Notice I get a pair of 6's and a pair of 10's. So there isn't anything left under the radical, so I won't have a radical anymore. So I really have 6 times 10, which is 60. So my answer will be 60. But I'll do it again, and I'll break it all the way down, and you'll see that it didn't matter, that I'll still get 60. Okay, so I went ahead and broke down the 6s to 2 and 3 and 2 and 3, and the 10s to 2 and 5 and 2 and 5. And I'm going to have a much, larger under the radical breakdown. So I have 1, 2, 3, 4 2s, 2 3s, and 2 5s. Okay, so I got a pair of 2s, pair of 2s, pair of 3s, pair of 5s. Again, nothing's left under the radical. So what's going to come out is 2 times 2 is 4, times 3 is 12, and then 12 times 5 is 60. I still get 60. I think that the other way was easier. So as soon as you see a perfect match like this, you can just stop. Like that's going to be what you're looking for anyway. Or you could keep going. Maybe you won't see it. Maybe you didn't pay attention. That's fine. You're still going to get to the right answer unless you make a mistake along the way. So the square root of 3600 is 60. So we're going to come back to the thing, and there it is, 60. Okay, the next one says 30x squared times 3x squared. Okay, well that would be 90 x to the 4th. And 90 breaks down to 3 and 30, obviously, because we just did that. And then again to 3 and 10. And then one more time to 2 and 5. So I really have 3, a 2, a 5, and a 3. And then of course I have my x's. So 2 times 3 times 3 times 5, and then I have 4 x's. Notice I'm looking for perfect squares, so I got 3's here, x's here, x's here. The only thing that's left under the radical is the 2 and the 5, so I already know that my answer will contain square roots of 10. And then on the outside, I'm going to have 3 times x squared. So 3x squared, square roots of 10. And there it is. Alright, let's do the last one on the left-hand side. We got 12 x to the 5th times 12 x to the 5th. This is actually a trick problem. Maybe you see it. I don't know. I don't know if I would have at your age. But they're both the same thing. So if I put them under the same radical, watch what happens. 12 times 12 times x 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 times x. So I'm going to get 12 times 12 because, that's really what I have here. And then I'm going to get 5 x's here and then 5 more here. Notice I really didn't do anything except for just put them all under the same radical. Well, immediately you can tell that we have a perfect match. So that 12 is going to come out, and then I'm going to start seeing how many x matches I have. And it looks like all of them are going to come out too. And so I won't have anything left under the radical at all. I'm going to have 12, and then 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 x's. And it is not a coincidence that the 12x to the 5th happens to be the same thing here, because you're looking for perfect matches. I could have written it like this, and then you really would have seen it. 12x to the 5th, x to the 5th. Wait a sec. Okay. Notice this time I didn't break down the x's. I just wrote them x to the 5th, x to the 5th. It becomes even easier to see that you have perfect matches here. The 12 is going to come out, and the x to the 5th is going to come out. So that actually was way easier because of the fact that everything came out of the radical. So that's 12x to the 5th. Okay, so go ahead and work on the left-hand side, and then I'm going to make another video for the right-hand side, and we'll work on that another day.